Hi again. All right, I'm here to teach you guys. So I'm excited, a little bit nervous. Hopefully, this all works out and hopefully, you guys learned something new. Today, we are going to be talking about elimination method. Before everything went down in class, we were learning about how to solve systems of equations. Remember, that's when you have two equations and you want one ordered pair that will satisfy both of those equations. So I taught you guys two strategies so far to do that. One was graphing, which I think most of you hated. The other one is substitution method, which I think more of you liked. And today I'm going to teach you one called elimination method. So this is the last strategy that I'm going to teach you to find that one ordered pair that satisfies both of those equations. And I wanted to give you some tips for this whole online learning from a video type of thing. What you guys are going to be seeing is my screen and me writing out examples. My tip to you, if it was me learning in this way, my goal would be to just make it seem as normal as possible and take notes still. So I would get out my notebook and write down examples and work through the examples with me. I recommend pausing the video whenever you need to so that you have time to process the things that I'm saying and the things that I'm doing. But also in class, I always tell you guys to try to stay a step ahead of me. And I recommend doing that still, even though we're learning from a distance. Pause the video, see if you can figure out what my next step would be. Because if you guys can do that, you guys are understanding it at a deep enough level to do it without me, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to break elimination method into two parts. Part one, that's this video, is going to be where we do the easier way or types of problems, and then part two tomorrow will be the ones that are a little bit more difficult because you have an extra step, because we all know life is never as easy as the first examples that I give you. And yeah, I think that's it. So pause the video when you need to, take notes if you need to. If you are a listener instead, just listen and process and try to learn as much as you can from a short little video. And I think I'm going to stop talking now and start teaching you guys, okay? So I will see you later. Bye. All right, guys. So we are going to talk about elimination method. This is going to be the quote unquote easy problems because they have a little bit less steps, less work for us to do. So what I'm actually going to do is go back to our foldable that we had on page 134, because there was one more method of solving a system of equations that we didn't learn yet, and that was elimination method. On page 134, example 5 is the one that I'm going to do on this example. And the problem looks like this: 4x minus 3y equals 5, and negative 2x plus 3y equals negative 7. I want to remind you that the goal here is to get an answer that's an ordered pair, and we're looking for that one ordered pair that will satisfy both of these oh my goodness, equations, and that's our goal. So we can guess and check. We don't like that. We all decided that together. We can use graphing method. In a problem like this, graphing method would be a little bit trickier because you would end up having fractions and decimals. And then you can use substitution method. This would be really an ugly problem to do with substitution method. So we're going to use elimination method to solve it. Now, before we actually do this problem, I'm going to do a little sidebar. And keep in mind, guys, that anything I write that you feel like is important or will help you, go ahead and write it. It doesn't matter where you write it in our notebooks. Obviously, we're not going to be doing notebook checks anymore, so really the notebook is just yours to keep track of anything that we do. And yeah, so write down whatever you feel like you need to, okay? So my little sidebar really quick. I want to write down that 3 plus 8 is 11, and I know that you would all agree with me that that is true. And then I'm going to write down a totally different equation. 9 minus 6 is 3. And I have a feeling you guys would all agree with me that that's true as well. So both of those statements are true. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of funky. I am going to take those two equations and I'm going to add them together, going down vertically. So 3 plus 9 is 12. And then I've got 8 minus 6. That would give me a plus 2. And then I've got 11 plus 3, and that would give me 14. And if we were in class, I would say, do you guys agree that 14 equals 14? And you guys would say, yes, Miss Halderman, you're the greatest. What an excellent teacher. Now that we know that this act of adding two equations together gives us something that's true, we're going to take that theory and apply it over here to our example and see if it can help us solve for anything. So what I'm going to do is set this up the same exact way. I'm going to add these two equations together, okay? Column by column. So my first column, you guys can see my little mouse right here. I'm going to do the 4x plus a negative 2x, and that would give me 2x. Then I've got negative 3y and a positive 3y. Well, a negative and a positive 3, those are opposites. So actually, those are going away, hence the name elimination method. They are eliminated, and I don't have any y's left. So that was good. That's actually something that we wanted to happen. Because now, when I say 5 minus 7, I get negative 2. And this is something that we can solve. We couldn't solve it before because we had two things that we didn't know, an x and a y, but now that we only have an x that we don't know, we can go ahead and solve this. So I'm going to divide each side by 2, and that'll give me x equals negative 1. There's half of our answer. X, remember you write that in your ordered pair up here. X is negative 1. Yay! From here, you're going to solve this the exact same way that you solved in substitution method. Once you get one part of your answer, you're going to use that to solve for the second part of your answer. So what I mean by that is I'm going to pick either equation that I started with in the original. You can literally pick either one. It does not matter. I'm just going to go with the one that's on top here, the 4x. Now, I know now that x is actually negative 1. So I'm going to replace it. Then I've got minus 3y equals 5. Now I can solve for y because I know that x is negative 1. So we're just going to go through and simplify. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Then I'm going to rewrite everything. And then I've got to get the y all by itself. This is the part, guys, where I would say pause the video and work ahead and try to get a head start so that you can see if you can solve this thing without me, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and add 4 on both sides. That gives me negative 3y equals 9. Dividing both sides by negative 3 will give me y equals negative 3. And voila, that is our piece that goes here, negative 3. And that's our final answer. So now we know that the one ordered pair that would satisfy both of these equations that we started with is negative 1, negative 3. This is elimination method. I'm going to do one more example with maybe 2 more examples actually with you guys, and then I will stop the video and then you guys can go and practice. Alrighty, so this is the next example I'm going to do with you guys. It's not in your foldable. The last problem in the foldable is actually one that I'm going to do on part 2 because it's a little more complicated. So go ahead and just find a spot in your notebook and work through this example with me. And remember, try to stay ahead of me. That would be your best bet. Now, in order for elimination method to work, you have to have opposites because that is what creates the elimination to happen. So when you look at these two equations, you want to look for your x's or your y's, it can be either one, to be opposites. When I see y and 3y, those aren't opposites, and when I combine these two equations together, I won't be eliminating my y's. But when I look at my x's, I'm going to box them. I've got a -2 and a +2, and that seems perfect because when I put those together, I will get 0 and my x's will be eliminated. So elimination method, we're always going to take our two equations and combine them together. Now, like I just said, my x's are going to go away because I had positive and -2, and that makes 0 x's. So then going to my y's, I have, remember this, there is a 1 in front of that y. A 1y plus a 3y gives me a 4y. And a 4 plus 20 gives me 24. And then I would just divide both sides by 4 and get y equals 6. So as far as our final answer goes, we've got half of it. We know that y is 6. And now we're going to use that to find x. You can use either equation, whichever your heart desires. I'm going to go with the bottom equation this time. I like it better because there's no negative sign. So I'm going to rewrite that bottom equation. However, instead of the y, I'm going to replace it with what I know y is. Y is 6 equals 20. And now I solve. 3 times 6 is 18. And subtracting 18 on both sides gives me 2x equals 2. So I know x is 1. And that is our final answer. Remember, you can always check also by just plugging both of these x and y values into both equations and making sure that it does in fact satisfy those two equations. And now I'm going to do one more with you guys. Alrighty, so last problem is here. This is a good one since you guys have seen me go through two problems to pause the video and try to solve it and think ahead of me. So I would recommend doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and start to solve this now. Remember, for elimination method, you are looking for opposites. The x and the x, they both have the same coefficient, and that would be +1. So those are not opposites because they're exactly the same number. So when I combine these equations together, that won't go away. However, when I look at the y's, I do have a -1 and a +1. Those are opposites, and that shows me that my y's will in fact be eliminated. So I'm going to go ahead and combine these two equations together. I've got 1x, you can always write the ones if that helps you, plus another x, that gives me 2 x's. My y's are eliminated, and -6 plus 8 gives me 2. Dividing both sides by 2, x equals 1. So we've got half of our answer. To find y, you're going to plug into either equation, whichever you want. So now that I know that x is 1, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use, I don't know, I guess the bottom one. Usually you guys tell me what to do, and now I have to make my own decisions. So before the equation was x plus y equals 8. Well, now I know that x is 1. So I've got 1 plus y equals 8. And then you could do this in your head, I'm sure, but really what you're doing is subtracting 1 on both sides and getting that y equals 7. So that would be our final answer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put a worksheet up on my website. The title of it will be on the weekly calendar. I'm not sure what that is yet when I'm making this video, so go ahead and check the calendar for what worksheet goes with this lesson and try your best on it. You know that there's apps like PhotoMath that can help you, and they show you the steps. If you guys didn't get what you needed to from my video, go watch other people's videos, because sometimes people can explain it in different ways that just clicks better with you. And if you have any questions at all, write me on Remind or come to office hours on Friday, and I will help you however I can, okay? Good luck, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.